Denok Lestari, and we're going to be listening to a presentation on the use of the ASRI method in teaching English for hospitality. Without further ado, hand it over to Denok. Okay.
Yeah, thank you, James.
Mhm.
So, good afternoon, everyone. So, I'm here to present about my research. It's titled the use of the ASRI method. So, in teaching English for hospitality. So, what is the ASRI method? It's a kind of method that I designed for my classroom teaching because I'm teaching in the English for hospitality students. So, the first one, it's an R&D method. This is a research and development with a mixed method, and there are 3 stages. The first one is determination of the problem stage. So on my research, I went to restaurants and then I just take down some expressions that the waiters are using when they serve the guests. And then I classify the data and then do the analysis. And then the second one is the design state, where the result of the analysis were applied, and then I constructed a design called ASRI and implemented using experimental method. And the last one is the development stage, where the revision of the method based on the experimental findings. And then um, after that, oh yeah, and then the ASRI is like the theory of Delheim's called speaking, and I constructed it myself. So the A was aims because it refers to the communicative goals, the communicative objectives when the speaker um, say the sentence. This is categorized or from the theory of language functions, which is the first one. This is the micro function was the permissive, and then I classified again. Permissive functions is used to soften utterances, to avoid repetition, and also to adjust intonation. And then the second one is interactive. Interactive refers to greeting and having small talks and also farewell. And for the informative, this like to introducing, to show, to state or explain, and also to ask to agree, to reject, and also to confirm. And the persuasive function is to offer, to promise, suggest, and persuade. And the directive function is to tell, to order, and to request. And the last one is indicative, to praise, to complain, to thank, and to apologize. So these are the aims, the main aims that the people are using when they are in the restaurants, when the waiter serves the guests in the restaurants. And then the second one is the sequence of service, because in a food and beverage both food and beverage context, so the waiters are doing some procedures in welcoming the guests and handling the guests in the restaurants. So the first one is greetings and welcoming the guests, and then presenting the menu, and also taking food orders, serving the food, handling complaints, handling payments, and farewell, saying goodbye to the customers. And the R comes from the role play. So because my students, they are doing their role play, whether in classroom or also in a restaurant. So we have restaurants for the students having a practice about being a waiter. So this kind of role play I designed. So there are 2 students from student A, student B. One becomes the waiter, and the other becomes the caller, or the becomes the guest. And then just like taking turns like that. And then the I comes from so there are interaction also, the interaction like this. The interactions is the interactive communication between participants, and I use the ABCD procedure. A stands for acquire, and B is for brainstorm, And C is for chance and also develop. In acquire, the students get input from sample dialogues, or they listen to the dialogues, they read, and also answering some questions about the dialogue that they hear. And the second one is the B, the brainstorm. The brainstorm is when the teacher puts some expressions or give them expressions that they can be used, or so it's like useful phrases the students can use when they are in a restaurant serving the guests. And then the C is the chance. So the students get the opportunity to practice um their um their dialogues that they constructed before, or they can have chance to construct their own dialogues and practice in pairs in a role play and a simulation with their partners. And the D is the develop. Develop means that the students are free to improve, are free to improve their um, dialogue based on the expression or the situations given, or they can make up their own situation and then practice in front of the class and have a feedback from peers and also from the lecturers. And um so this is the method of ASRI. So this is the blueprint of the method ASRI. So A is the aims, S is the sequence, and then R is role play, and I is interaction. So it comes first from the language functions, and then it goes to CLT approach. It's communicative language teaching, and then so there are some theories supported. It's from the nature of language. So I use language as the media of interaction to reach communicative goals, and the theory, and then also the design, and design constructed with a syllabus, learning activities, and then the role of teachers and students, and the learning materials. And then the procedures. So the ABCD procedures is the elicitation, listening to dialogue, brainstorm is discussion, chance, role play, and also for develop. So, well, I guess, oh, it's a very quick presentation. So that's all my presentation. Thank you for Jean, and also the participants, Jeremy, Phillips, and Nicholas. So thank you for listening to my presentations. If you have some questions, maybe we can discuss. So we have many time left. Yeah, Nicholas.
Um, I use this CLT method or approach in my classes. I was wondering, uh, do you find any reluctance or from the students to participate in that?
Yes, well, as in Indonesian class, well, we Asian, mostly in Asian students, so they are kind of reluctant, kind of passive learners, but some students are very active and some students are keep silent at the back. So um, I tried to approach them, those students who are kind of reluctant, and then try to help them in person. So I go to their seat and then help them, give them some clues when the active learners they can do it themselves. So I I spend more time with the reluctant students like that. So how
Okay.
about you, Nicholas? What do you do in your classroom?
It's very similar. I have them in groups, and each of them will have a responsibility. They'll have to perform some kind of line. They have to create their scripts. Um, but again, you'll have some students that will dominate the group, and then the other ones will be like, okay, great idea. They don't, they're just going along for the ride. But it's, again, it's one of those things where you try that inclusion, you give them the freedom and the ownership of it. And
Mhm.
from most of the time, it has more positive outcomes than negative in my experience.
Okay. So what are you teaching, Nicholas?
I teach here in Korea, South Korea, elementary and middle school students.
Ah,
So
okay. Very good. Thank you, Nicholas. How about Jeremy? Yes?
Yes, I'm actually also training people for tourism and hospitality. So my question is not about your method, although I was interested to hear it, but it's about how you use the training restaurant, the mock restaurant. How do you kind of use that setting to get English happening?
Well, because in Bali, in my campus, so we have a restaurant. So actually, my campus is a vocational college for the students. So the students are mostly um, want to work as a restaurant or hospitality practitioners later. So English is taught in a formal classroom like usual, but we have some mock restaurants also. It's for the practice. So in my campus, so we have some restaurants, we have some hotel rooms like that.
You take students there as a group, or they have other kinds of practice?
They have other kinds of practice. Okay, with other lecturers.
Hmm.
So the lecturers in the restaurant, they usually speak English as well. So in my class, I just have to correct the students, or I have to make sure that they are ready for their practice in the restaurant. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. So there's some questions left, or any comments about the my method, or um, something else? Yeah, Nicholas.
um, one, I guess it could be a question with you using CLT. I know it's here in Korea. It's kind of gaining more momentum.
Mm-hmm.
First, it's considered not much of anything. They don't look at it as, or
Mm-hmm.
they didn't look at it as teaching, really more of a way of entertaining. But I was just wondering what kind of feedback or responses you get from other professors or teachers for using this method.
Okay, so because English in Indonesia is still a foreign language, so it's not our second language. So it's still a foreign language, and most of my students are still speaking their local languages in classrooms. So I have to put so much effort to make them speaking English in the classroom. But um, but my institution is very supportive, and they put so much emphasizing the use of the importance of English, because they, for everyone who wants to work in a tourism and hospitality industry, they have to be able to speak English. And it's a kind of what kind of, and putting internal motivation for my students, but they are still lacking, some students are still lacking of English fluency, but we're still working on it. So I get some support from my institution, and they also have some kind of motivation from their family, because in Bali, tourism is a very promising profession. So most of the students, they want to work in a restaurant, so they know they have to work hard in learning English. So
Thank you.
yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, well, I think that's the end of my session. Jane, do I have to close it now, or
Hi.
yeah?
Yeah, well, we have
Mhm.
something in the chat says, this from Nehemiah says, the problem with CLT in Korea is that I found that teachers don't feel confident in their speaking ability, and so they don't want to use it despite the push from the Ministry of Education. I was wondering if you had anything to add to that, you would address that.
Mm, I'm sorry. Could you
Uh,
just repeat?
I think maybe Nehemiah, he's got something in the
Yeah.
chat room.
So I'm
Uh,
Yeah, I'm doing just a research on like how to accelerate like oral fluency in Korea, and I found that the government in 1996, 1990s, they tried to implement CLT, and it was quite like kind of what Nicholas said. They tried to implement it, but in practice, I don't think the teachers really know what it means. They just think it's some kind of more of a collaborative activity and just speaking. My question is kind of like how kind of how would you go ahead and like I don't know, I guess in Korea it might be a little bit different from your country. Uh,
Well, because the case in Bali, because we all agree with the communicative language teaching, and all my teachers are using this one. So because this is a vocational school, so we do not force our students with the grammar teaching or translation teaching. So we do agree, and we have similar approaches or activities when we conduct our classroom. And then because all the students, they come with their internal motivation because they want to work in tourism sectors, and they know they have to speak English, because when they enter our campus, they got interview also, and then so English is a must, so they know that very well. So we don't find it difficult, because everyone agree with the communicative language teaching. So we do not push the grammar or something else. The importance is the students understand English, and they can respond in a proper way, like that. Okay.
all right, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Nehemia. Is there other questions? I don't see anything left in the chat. Yeah.
Okay, well, if there are no further questions, thank you, Denok, for your presentation. And thank you very much to all the participants for coming in and for giving us some questions to consider. All right. Appreciate it, and we hope to see you around in the conference.
Okay. Thank you, Jane. Thank you,
Yep.
everyone. Okay.